All right, now for commodities market update. India, the world's largest producer of sugar, the second highest exporter after Brazil, has restricted the export of sugar. Days after it banned wheat exports. Let's talk to Ifeanyi Otisi, now analyst at Financial Derivatives Company. Great to have you, Ifeanyi.
For having me.
Right, so what is the impact of this restriction on the global sugar industry? How will this affect, Nigeria, especially food inflation, which is currently at 18.37%?
So India has placed a restriction on sugar exports and has put a cap at 10 million metric tons for the current marketing year. Now, the effect of that is going to lead to supply shortage. It's going to lead to increase in prices. It's going to lead to increase in production costs as well globally. So we've seen that since Russia invaded Ukraine in February this year, there's been a global inflation spike. It's skyrocketed. So now what we've seen is countries are trying to either restrict the food exports, or they outrightly ban food exports. And this is to ensure price stability within the country, or to ensure domestic availability of the product, or to ensure that prices don't go up. This is within the country. So now with India placing this restriction on sugar exports, we're going to see that countries who depended on India for sugar supply, basically they would have to look for alternative sources, explore short-term supply agreements with other countries in the meantime. And then other countries would now have to, after finding alternative sources, they would have to manage supply shortages, also manage increase in prices, manage increase in the cost of the byproducts of sugar as well. These are things we would expect. Now, coming down to Nigeria, there'll be a ripple effect as well. You'd see increase in importation costs, increase in sugar costs, increase in production costs, increase in costs of things like confectionaries, pastries, pharmaceuticals, and other products that are manufactured using sugar. So those are the things we would expect.
Quite interesting. Not a good time to be reliant on any country. Well, Nigeria's estimated aggregate demand for sugar is about 1.7 million metric tons per annum, but it's important. Some are more important to meet the demand. Also, Nigeria's sugar production is forecast to remain flat, in the year beginning of May 2022. What is causing this? What's responsible for this flat performance?
So there's several factors that would contribute to the flat performance. Unfortunately, that's where we are right now. This is a situation Nigeria has found itself. Some of the factors would include high input costs, lack of adequate infrastructure, poor infrastructure when it comes to sugar crushing operations, which is very vital. You'd see issues with insecurity that plague the country. So this would now deal with transporting the products from one part of the country to another. You're dealing with things like bad roads. We found situations where it's actually the investors who are now fixing roads or building airstrips just to ensure that the products reach them in the end. So you also see things like rising production costs as well, which will indefinitely, which would be a result as well. So these are some of the contributing factors that we would have to consider. Now, all these factors will invariably lead to increase in overall production. It would impede production quantities. We would see or expect to see losses as well. These are things that we would have to consider in the long term.
Quite interesting. And the Nigerian government has, muted, discussions about the sugar tax, the sin tax. What do you think do you think this is actually a good idea at this point?
So I would take a different stance. So now the sin tax is levied on products that would have adverse effects on health of citizens. So you're looking at products like tobacco, products like alcohol, and then sugar sweetened beverages. Now, the thing about sugar sweetened beverages, which is, our focal point right now, is that the Nigerian government recently announced that it would impose a 10% excise duty on sugar-sweetened beverages. And the rationale behind this is to curb consumption of these products so that health challenges or health issues such as obesity and diabetes will be reduced. Now, an idea of also is that the taxes or the revenue generated from these taxes would be used to further develop the health sector. So we're looking at possible building or renovation of hospitals and health centers, purchasing of equipment, that'll be used in the health sector. Now, the thing is, we've seen a situation where the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria have opposed this new development, saying that although the Nigerian government has cited or forecasted that we're going to see about 81 billion naira revenue from taxes generated, the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria has argued that the government failed to consider other factors. So, for example, the government didn't consider the 197 billion naira loss that would be incurred if taxes such as value-added tax is not taken into consideration. Furthermore, they've argued that there's a huge loss of about 1.9 trillion naira if sales revenue isn't, recorded if the taxes are imposed. So what I would say is, if you are towing the line of the Nigerian government and you're concerned about health benefits, then okay, fine. The excise duty is justified. However, if you're paying attention to the financials, if you're paying attention to how things work, essentially, with regards to payment and payment structure, then you pay attention to what the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria is saying. However, I'm of the opinion that if you focus on the fact that we have a 20% tax or levy on products like alcohol and cigarettes, right? It hasn't really deterred or stopped people from purchasing these products. I'll explain better. So you see people buying more bottles of.
Yeah. So if I so much to unpack there, this is all about food security, at this point. But I really enjoyed that analysis there. Thank you so much, Ifeanyi Otisi, analyst, financial derivatives company. We'll carry on with this commodities conversation another time. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.